What if your AI tools are not saving your time? They're quietly amplifying your triggers. Welcome back to AIBiz. I'm Sayan. This is the show where we talk about building smarter businesses with AI, but we don't ignore the human behind the dashboard. So, if you've ever said, I'm crushing it, while your nervous system is in full panic mode, you're not alone. Believe me. A lot of high performers look successful on paper and feel uh, messy inside. There's burnout, motivation crashes, dopamine hits, relationship strains, so forth, right? And AI can help, or it can become the newest way to outrun what you don't want to feel. Today's guest is Brian Bogert. Brian works with executives, business owners, and high performing people who are tired of being run by emotional triggers. His framework is blunt and honestly kind of iconic. Take out your trash, because if you don't, it piles up and it'll bury you. So, with all that being said, Brian helps people get to the root cause, rewire patterns, and build sustainable performance without being held hostage by reaction. So, uh, if you feel you're not able to amplify your use cases with the help of AI, this is the one for you. So, welcome to the show, Brian. It's an absolute honor to have you here with me today.
Man, I'm excited to be here with you today. This is a topic I'm obviously very passionate about. It's at the end of the day, it's about how do we make AI and technology more human, and in a way that doesn't sacrifice human, but in fact amplifies it. And so, looking forward to exploring where we can go today because there's obviously a whole lot here.
Yeah, totally. Welcome once again, Brian. And before we go tactical, I just want to understand that how do you define trash in a way that doesn't sound like a motivational poster?
Yeah. Well, here's the reality. Trash, if we look at it purely from the human side, it's the emotional triggers, behavioral patterns, environmental conditions that create a set of beliefs that our lives only further validate. It's the good and the bad moments in our lives that we reacted to in moments that created cellular memory that we react to decades later, right? It's when your spouse or loved one looks at you funny when you loaded the dishwasher, and what it really is doing is triggering inside about how your dad yelled at you when you loaded the dishwasher incorrectly when you were 8. Now, this is not just the real problem, and part of this is we talk about the trash from people's past, and a couple quick things I say about this because it's really important. One, the trash from your past is not your fault. It just becomes your responsibility once you become aware of it or you start burying others in yours. And two,
Mm.
there is no shame or blame in this concept of trash because at the end of the day, as soon as shame and blame exist, growth and opportunity go out the window. But what does happen with all of these little micro moments in our businesses and our relationships with our time and with our health? It creates waste. Wasted time, wasted energy, wasted resources, wasted opportunity, wasted communication, wasted leadership opportunities. And then when you look at this in the context of a business and life, here's the truth. AI is the greatest confirmation bias that we'll ever have. It's essentially the most effective and most clear mirror. And so it's
Yeah.
reflecting back to you all of the trash from your past that you've been trying to protect, justify, or defend your whole life with armor. And now it's creating even more waste, repetition waste, context switching waste, decision waste, right? Voice waste. It's things that we don't need to let go of, but it's time to move.
Yeah, got it. So trash it is not necessarily bad emotions. It's the unprocessed stuff. I think that hijacks behavior. Got that. And Brian, here's why this matters for AI. See, you see, like if I ask anyone, they would agree that AI increases speed or that it increases efficiency, output, volume. But I think speed without self awareness, right? It turns triggers into strategy. That's when you get frantic launches, impulsive pivots, or don't get messaging and teams that feel like they're working for a mood, not a leader. So, I want to get to the point where does AI most commonly intensify triggers for high performance? Since you work with executives, so where do you see that happening very frequently or commonly?
Well, so often, right? People have learned to live in this area of self-protection around all the things that we just discussed, right? And so what we talk about here is that AI is a mirror. So if you put armor in, you're going to get noise out, right? What do we see in the world? People who buy cars, buy clothes, do things to impress people that they don't even know and don't even like, and they're trying to understand how to gamify the system, right? It's all about like, what do I look like? How do I appear? And so, what was the first thing that happened when AI came out? And part of the reason that I avoided it for a while, you would see people who had never created an original thought of their own to begin with, who could barely put together content in any way. And then all of a sudden, overnight, they're releasing all this long form content and are subject matter experts in areas that you've never once heard them talk about or ever seen them do. Right. And yet it works great from a marketing standpoint. It seems to leverage and grow, but all we're doing is we're diluting our own voice, we're diluting our own impact. And so these areas that we feel the need to justify, protect, or defend ourselves are the areas that get amplified more than anything. If we want to, right? How many times do you see people make this email sound better, right? Or write an email very basically in a prompt that's like to sound like X, Y, and Z, not to be who they are. But this is why I say that I do think it's interesting, and I love how you said it because it's tied into one of the things I say. I will tell you, though, AI, I do believe, is one of the greatest investments we can make, right? It helps us automate tasks. It helps us aggregate and analyze. It helps us scale communication. It helps us create literally anything if we can communicate it. It helps us connect faster, and it distills hours into seconds. And then everybody, just like you, nods their head when I say all that. But here's the thing, I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. I'm talking about awareness and intentionality, because without it, your AI won't work, your leadership with your teams won't work, your relationships, your time, and your health won't work. But yet, awareness and intention give you all those things that I just listed. And paired with artificial intelligence, it helps you amplify impact and distill and compress time to clarity, connection, and amplified impact.
Absolutely, absolutely, Brian. I totally agree, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, a direct question to you, Brian. How do you tell the difference between using AI to support decision making, right, versus using AI to avoid the discomfort of making a decision?
Yes, I think that it's about understanding how AI can be your co-pilot, how it can become one of the greatest creative engines, strategic engines, partnerships. But again, I think what struggles and why awareness and intention become so important is look at the number of times that people get frustrated that their teams don't seem to understand the vision, don't seem to be able to understand the SOPs and be able to perform them to accuracy, right? And now we're taking all that lack of clarity and communication from human to human, and we're systematizing it, and we're just going faster in the wrong direction. And so when we look at how we want to do these things, we oftentimes people have a hard time communicating this stuff to people to be able to perform a simple task. But yet then they'll go in and look at AI and say, well, I can replace people, I can be faster, and I can do this with less effort. The challenge is that what they're doing is they're just going a lot faster in a direction that's not going to have the same level of impact and the same level of depth, right? And so there's going to be errors, there's going to be wasted time, there's going to be wasted energy on the back end, right? Yet, if we look at how can we use it as a thought creation engine, a creative partner, and all of the other things that I listed, it means helping us get smarter, but not allowing it to take over. I always say to people that you've got to be very, very clear with AI. What are you feeding it? Literally, what is the information that you're giving it on the front end? And how are you setting the guardrails to be able to guide it and restrain it and contain it? Because AI will get a mind of its own, right? How do you have the ability to see the vision throughout whatever AI is telling you are other good ideas that you could be putting into place? And then how do you do so in a way that you maintain, again, integrity to what you intended to build, knowing that it could be better with AI? Now, I've built full-blown products. I've built full-blown production SaaS solutions for clients. We've replaced about 80 to 100 hours of really transactional, non-human essential tasks within our own business in just the last couple of months by systematically looking at the very predictable, consistent, and transactional tasks that need to take place in a business, but don't require a human. And then anything that is communication oriented or outbound and external human oriented, there is what I have an insert human here into the process. We can use it to save and incrementally save hundreds of hours. In fact, there's multiple tools that I've built that have replaced an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of time in a particular week. We took a marketing and development person from one of my large clients. We spent 3 hours, looked at his core workflows, the 6 primary duties that he has to perform every single week to take up 30 to 35 hours of his time. And in 3 hours, we had designed thoughtful workflows that were pulling data from places, having guardrails for how to analyze it, and reporting it back to him. It's saving him right now about 20 to 25 hours a week from just 3 of the 6 workflows that are his primary duties. This can literally leverage us up and buy back the one thing we can't create more of, which is time, because it allows us to compress time in a way that we've never been able to before.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I think if you can establish a workflow around a problem statement, I think 95% of the time you can automate it, right? Given that you are aware of the problem statement and what is that you want to achieve with AI. And yeah, if you keep prompting the model because you want the perfect answer, I think that might be your fear of being wrong, not your need for data. And I want to underline this, Brian. AI can give us options, but it cannot give ownership, right? If you outsource ownership, you're not scaling, you're dissolving your leadership in it. So I want to dive a little deeper into the team level things. For example, leaders are rolling out AI tools, right? The hidden issue is emotional spillover, anxiety, impatience, micromanagement, and even shame when people can't keep up. So I want to ask you this, that what boundaries or norm should a leader set to AI so it does not become a stress multiplier?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I haven't been asked that particular one before. I am one that has allowed myself to evolve my boundaries based on the needs that are in front of me without allowing the technology to take me over. I'm the type of person that I have like ADHD, for example, right? Which means that I can sit and develop and build things in code and no code environments for hours because I'm a builder and I'm having fun and I could lose myself in the time. But at the same time, I've got to remind myself I'm not interacting with people and I've got constraints around those windows of time. And so for me, I've got literally working blocks. And once I hit the end of that working block, unless I'm like trying to hit a deadline for myself or for someone else, I shut off and I allow myself to go do the other normal things within my day. I know that sounds like a really simple, basic one, but we can become so ingrained in it and it gives us instant feedback in a way that we don't get in this world. That, to your point, it drives dopamine hits, makes us feel really good. We can even ask it all these questions and it can tell us how great we are. But the reality of it is that we're not actually interacting with people, and we've got to remember that it is a tool and we're utilizing this tool. I am a big, big, big believer in using it to gain knowledge, understand knowledge, but not to use it for things that I would otherwise want a human for, right? I see a lot of people outsourcing their mental health, their emotions, all of the way that they want to process their self-analysis. They're trying to get coaching online. And yet the truth of the matter is, when you actually see what most people get in these reflections, it's very surface level and it's written in a way that feels very personal, but often it's not actually detailed enough to give an actual answer. And again, the nuance of that is something that I say. So I would really caution in boundaries to not utilize it for mental health, emotional health, diagnoses, right? What do I use it for? A lot of things in my business, marketing, sales, leadership, specific industry research, right? Understanding data metrics that I need to get smart on. But I also use it for recipes because I love to cook. I use it to manually set my electronic fuel injection on my 1981 Jeep because it can. And I have got like a master mechanic in my pocket to help me calibrate these things. But again, for me, my boundaries are around when I start going in loops with AI. If I can't get it back on track in one or two sessions, like one or two redirects with a prompt, I shut it down and I revisit later, right? There's certain working habits and behaviors that I want to make sure that I'm consistently getting smart with. So even creating my own knowledge bases and elements that I can get my AI smart every time I reopen and redeploy without blowing through tokens means I'm wasting less time in the future, right? So a boundary and a really good practice is if you learn something new about code or a solution or a marketing language or your voice breakthrough or activation, actually find a way to record it. And I'm saying this in the most simple way because Full-blown coders can go extreme with all of the databases and vector databases, all the way down to people who just use LLMs and chat GPT or custom GPTs. But you can customize, you can direct, you can give feedback. And the biggest boundary that I'm going to say is make sure that you do not lose sight of what you are setting out to accomplish with any individual session, because it will take you down rabbit trails that if you're not careful, you're going to waste a ton of time, a ton of energy. And next thing you're going to wake up and realize you didn't move anything else forward. So I don't have those well regimented and written out as boundaries and rules, but those are probably the 4 or 5 that I have to pay attention to self-regulate with the tool.
Hmm. Wow, Brian, you said a lot of things actually. And to begin with, say even like with the amount of the kind of technology that is coming in every day, I think it won't be that hard to build a product that understands the nuances of mental health, or say understand the nuance of recipes, right? Or it could be anything, any field, you name it. We can make a product, with the kind of
That's right.
technology that we have. But the real then challenge becomes understanding the boundaries, like you said. That is the uncomfortable truth, because I think if your value is only your output, AI will feel like a personal attack, right? But if your value includes judgment, integrity, creativity, AI becomes sort of a tool, right? Not a competitor. So
Yeah.
I want to make it a bit practical towards the end. Um, so the idea is about how do you take out your trash before you use AI. So in the context of AI usage, Ryan, what's one simple step by step that they can do this week?
So I'm a big believer in a really simple process that I think about with AI, which is about literally kind of like 3 C's. It's capture, compress, and compound. And it's a concept that I teach consistently. It does rely on awareness and intentionality, but this is about looking at your business, your life, however you want to monetize, and looking at it through a lens of intention. Okay, so this phase framework is actually going to help transform how you could approach any task in your business or even within your life to simplify and do things in a way that is contained. The first is capture. This is spotting tasks that are automatable, repetitive, and predictable, right? This is training your eye to recognize patterns worth eliminating. The things that no longer serve you, the things that are required to actually get you moving forward, and paying attention to what are the details within this workflow or this process. So, great example, right? I, for years, have had a virtual assistant taking every Zoom meeting that I've ever had that I host, filing it in Google Drive, naming them appropriately, putting the transcripts and all of those things in place so that I can have record of it with the people that I'm meeting with, especially with those that I coach and work with individually. Okay. I'll come back full circle to this because I did find a way to compress that into a process. But the capture is like, what is the actual repetitive task and where is it adding the most value? Is this requiring a human or is it not? The compress is
Right.
reduce both thinking and doing through AI tools, workflow automation, and template systems that execute instantly. So what did we do? Well, in this one process, I built a crazy complex workflow that has 8 different paths. I've got built in the note takers that are my own bots that joined this session with you today. It works in conjunction with my Zoom 4K recorder because I record it at HD so that I can actually get and compress and reuse these assets in the future. It takes all of these things. It has a whole methodology that's able to pull from multiple different sources. It cross-references with my calendar. It's got meeting assignment methodology that's in there that will direct to the recurring meetings that it already knows about versus one-offs that I have every day. It uses my CRM through Go High Level. It utilizes like multiple outside tools, Google Drive, Google Docs, to be able to complete and compress all of these things. And then this is how I've been able to get this to work. For months now, this tool has been using and working in perfection behind the scenes that has freed up my VA to do specific human required work so that I didn't need to add another person to the team. I could relocate and reallocate her time and her focus. And in this case, what it's also done is it's now allowed me to have downstream agents so that I can have meeting summaries produced immediately after and drafted into my inbox. I can have summaries for my masterminds all put together. I can create and write articles for the certain types of meeting types that work. But because I put in the time to capture it, because I put in the time to compress it, now it compounds. And this is where it stacks these time savings ROIs and this time compression, right? On average, my AVA team would spend anywhere between 5 and 7 hours a week doing this whole process. All of that compounded over the course of now 8 months, they've been able to deploy different tasks, and it's been operating with absolute 0 errors, 100% proficiency. And so when we look at this through how do we use AI and how are we putting these things in place, there was something that you said earlier, and there was one other boundary that I was going to outline for you, but I'll come back to that if I remember it. But the pragmatic, tangible piece with this is use it with intention. If you are writing the same emails to the same people every single week, develop a custom GPT. It's the most basic that gives you the rules and the parameters so that you have to do less and think less on the highly repeatable tasks. If you train it up front, you help make sure that the guardrails are in place, then it will work just like it's supposed to. I've never thought about this until this moment, but it's very extremely relevant. You look at therapy dogs, you look at highly trained police dogs, you look at any dog, and they always tell you the more intention you put into the first 6, 9, and 12 months with understanding what is the behaviors that you want this dog to have, what is the reward system that you're going to put in place, how are you going to train and set those same boundaries in place, what happens is after a year, you have a dog that will live for 10 to 15 years that you never need to train again. And it will perform whatever tasks or operate in whatever way that it needs to based on the training. AI is no different. The people that work for you are no different, but it does require for you to do this well, to put in a little bit of extra effort to make sure that AI, again, is amplifying, not diluting.
Wow, I love how you frame that, Brian. Yeah, what I'm taking away, from this entire conversation is that we're not just building better workflows, we are building a kind of P5 checklist for ourselves. And I think it all starts with awareness and intention, like you said, where you can check off some of the things, repeated things, I should say, where it does save time. And, pausing before we open a tool and asking, am I trying to create some value out of it? Am I saving some time, right? Am I saving some resources, or am I just trying to control discomfort? I think that changes everything. So that is what I'm taking away with. And so thanks, Brian, for this wonderful conversation. Just before we wrap this off, we'd love to ask, where can people listening to this find you?
Best place, if you're social media or web, go to brianbogert.com/connect. It'll have access to some of the AI tools that we've built and launched. Our world, you can text me, sign up for newsletters, see our podcast, anywhere that you want to connect socially or otherwise, you will have at that link, probably the best and easiest place. And I welcome all outreach.
Perfect. Awesome, Brian. And dear listeners, we'll put it in the show notes for you. And to everyone listening, guys, of this episode, hit a nerve, don't ignore it. Name the trigger, choose one small boundary, take one clean action today. I'm Sayan, and this has been AIBiz. See you in the next episode.